This unmotivated excuse for the title screen foreshadows how much this game is going to suck. I can't read the title of this game unless those glimmers of light highlight the title. I love how the developers thought it was a good idea to put this on top of the screen as if nobody knew the current generation of consoles at the time couldn't operate in 1080p. There's no visible cursor of any shape or form for the selection of menu items. Also, these items can't be navigated through or selected. This portion of the screen eventually disappears, so there's literally no point to have the text there in the first place. This teaser trailer summing up what the game is like decides to play after the title screen. Teaser trailer that should have been played before the title screen shows absolutely no gameplay. Teaser trailer is actually better than the entire game. Black box. This opening credits sequence also displays the names of these actors as if their existence in this game is any more significant than the other times black box made in the game with live action cutscenes. These helicopters look awful for a game that's supposed to be next gen at its time. These support beams are floating and not surrounded by the water. Audio cuts off for a second. The audio in the remainder of this sequence is also out of sync with the video. The interface of this game looks so bright that I can't really make out what this game is trying to tell me whenever I race. These civilian cars still look like they were scrapped from Need for Speed Underground 2. The handling physics in this game makes me think of going to hydroplane on dry roads. Also, what the fuck is this blurring on the screen? If that's supposed to simulate the car going fast, it's doing less of its job and more giving me an epileptic seizure from all the flashing. Heat level on the cops isn't raised by how much you piss them off, but by how much money you owe them. This roadblock spawns out of nowhere. This zoom in on the roadblock is less of a sign of danger and more of a casual reminder that these graphics suck for its generation. This next cutscene shows a cop car getting smashed and destroying part of a bridge, but the position on the roadblock in the game is nowhere near that bridge. Wait a second, so there's literally no law enforcement that's following the car in this scene? There should still be a helicopter tailing this racer, plus there's a gap next to the debris where the other cop cars can navigate around. These scene transitions. YouTube was pretty much being a dickbutt about the whole copyright claim situation, but I just want to let you know that at least 6 offenses were committed in this period here. We interrupt this game to bring you CSI Miami. Wait a second, so if the 370Z was being driven by our undercover agent here, why are we driving this old and busted 240SX? How the fuck did I lose that sweet ride? These streets are surprisingly empty for a city this massive. These barriers look pretty solid for a street race. These jump sequences are anticlimactic. So you can improve the performance of your car by simply being a beast at races? We interrupt this game to bring you every JRPG ever made. This game mentions the existence of zone points before explaining what they are. This game also describes these illegal car stunts as heroic. This massive map spits out racing events in specific places, but doesn't show any indication of the event when you drive to that spot, unless the bottom button says you're close to a race. In other words, this entire city has much purpose as a pencil without any lead. This racer's name is mostly Death. Oh, now we get an explanation of zone points, but that doesn't tell us what the fuck Wheelman rep is. If we can spawn enough cars and highway battles that look like the city is actually populated, why not do the same with both races and free roam? What's the smoke supposed to consist of? Cigarette smoke? Incense? A fog machine? And more importantly, wouldn't the fire alarm go off if she's in this hotel/penthouse thing? Also, what's a police official doing in a hotel/penthouse? Isn't that a little too expensive for her budget? And here we have a product placement for a company that has nothing to do with underground street racing and car smuggling whatsoever. Finally get a glimpse of what's the source of the smoke, but this room's so horribly saturated that I still can't tell whether that's an incense or some weird-ass humidifier. Somehow this security camera is giving lagless live feedback at 60 frames per second. I actually went through the trouble looking up at the laptops back in this game's time, and it appears to be a Toshiba satellite. This could be a pretty good pun if the game didn't cover up the laptop brand. This guy is wearing a trilby. These cars did not match the lineup that we saw from Chase's security feed. Who the fuck races at 7:30 in the morning? This lineup of cars does not match the lineup we saw earlier, which didn't match the lineup that Chase saw in the security feed.
Looks like you've met Hector Mayo. Good. He heads a small ring of car thieves in the area.
This car crew we're infiltrating is run by a bunch of Mexicans. That's racist.
The hair-triggered boy's his brother Zach. Strictly small-time player, but trying very hard to be a somebody.
Nobody trying to be a somebody cliche. This camera keeps panning out to a hot Latina chick as if she's crucial to the plot. I thought this cop was supposed to focus on the car smuggling operation, not what his penis sees as a tight fit.
This crash.
We need to give them something to talk about. Start getting into it with the local authorities.
Great idea, let's murder our fellow cops to get noticed by the Mexican street gang. These police cars get disabled by intentionally driving into stationary pipes. Driving on train tracks in this game is like driving on freshly paved pavement. Pointless cutscene is pointless. Nobody acts this physically overdramatic over the phone.
You and me, Beto.
What that guy just called me? And I'm being legit serious, I don't think that's an actual word. Pointless cutscene is pointless. Again. Seriously, who street races this early in the morning?
Zach also asks us to go ahead and meet him at 6 o'clock,
6 p.m., Old Cutler Road by the drive.
and yet when we actually get to the race is actually 8 in the morning.
Gonna blow you away, Beto!
Yep, pretty sure it's not an actual word.
But obviously you can drive, Beto.
Having this guy call me a bus wanker is more acceptable at this point because I don't know what the fuck he's calling me. Don't robberies usually occur in the afternoon or evening? The person editing this thought it was a good idea to show the same jump on 2 different angles. I'd also love to acknowledge that this car has pimpalicious vinyls for a car that came out of an auto showroom. This song. The cameraman, rather than focusing on introducing a new character to whatever plot this game is trying to tell, decides to grow in a direction focuses solely on her abs and her belly button piercing. Somehow the editor thought it was necessary to keep footage of this chick dialing each individual number on the phone.
That was quite a run you had the other day. Oh yeah, hi, I'm Carmen. I was hanging with the guys.
These first few sentences into the conversation would make Carmen look more like a stalker than an admirer. Also, how did Carmen get this guy's number? Furthermore, here's Black Box's new female companion that serves no purpose to the non-existent plot other than to be a hot piece of ass to jerk off to after a long period of whatever gaming this game has to offer. Carmen didn't give out her last name and her phone call.
Carmen Mendez. The Bureau has no record on her, but somehow she may be involved.
Oh, okay, so a chick that happened to be hanging out in the same street race that the Mexicans are hosting, who simply happens to have her panties wet over the protagonist, is automatically suspect in the smuggling job. If this is supposed to count as a form of date between Carmen and the cop, then I gotta say that 9:30 in the morning is not a suitable time to go on a date. Also, this game eventually reveals that Carmen's car is 2 tiers above the current tier of cars we're allowed to drive in at this point in the game, yet Carmen can't drive that car worth a shit.
Wow, that was great, Buffy. I hope you're that good in everything you do.
Haha, she wants to fuck the player. Also, Buppy?
This here's Zach. My brother is liking what he sees. I've got more work for you, if you want it.
More work for you if you want it? I thought our intention was to get some work in the first place.
He's gonna pay top dollar.
The police once again call us within seconds of the car being stolen. These delays within the world generation completely freeze the game and cut off your concentration on whatever you're doing. These cops also decide to quit chase seconds after losing the vehicle being pursued.
I like your style, Beto.
There goes Zach again, calling me what I assume is some kind of secret guacamole ingredient. Master events are completely pointless because you can't simply enter a better car in these races long after you gain access to them. They don't lock into a tier they have to use for the race or anything, thus defeating the purpose of the events being masterful in any sense of the word. Our protagonist proceeds to whistle to act as if he's not about to steal another car, but that just makes him look more suspicious because we've seen this shit in old Mickey Mouse cartoons. These cops actually show up for the chase within a more reasonable time, but find it necessary to use a fucking helicopter for vehicular theft this early on in the pursuit. Was this supposed to be a roadblock? Cops actually make a proper roadblock this time, but it doesn't cover half of the other road.
Hey, Beto. Here.
Yo, looks like I put you in a tight situation back there, but now the whole Palm Harbor PD is chasing you. Show me some skills.
Hector Maya makes the protagonist steal a car just so he can have dinner in a show. Hector is addicted to undercover cops. Editor keeps reusing the same shots for Chase's suite.
Phone traffic's been wild. The net's buzzing all about your exploits.
The player's street racing apparently went more viral than a typical cat and or baby video.
You're in deep. Exactly where I want you to be.
Haha, Chase wants to fuck me.
Yo, it's Hector. I like 2 things in life. Winning races and stealing cars.
Hector's 2 primary interests just about sums up every modern day Need for Speed fan.
M'lady.
There's literally no reason why the camera needs to cut to Zach and Carmen during the explanation of this operation. I don't care if this is closer to 10 in the morning, stealing cars and going on a race is still too early to do with friends, let alone do by yourself. The director thought about adding some bromance into the scene so that the player can make out Hector and Zach to be remorseful human beings. If Hector wanted to drive the Dodge Charger over the Audi TT, then why is he offering me a choice between the 2 vehicles?
I'm not actually in Hector's crew.
If you're not in Hector's crew, then why do we need to care about you?
Zach, the way he talks about you, you would think he put a fan site on the internet.
Thanks to you, we have enough evidence to convict these guys.
Wait a second, how do we have enough evidence? We just volunteered to steal a bunch of cars, and we don't even know if these cars have anything to do with the particular shipment we're looking for.
You okay? You don't look so good.
Yeah, I'm getting sick of your endless rambling that was absent from Chase reminding me of my mission.
Stay on target. He thinks you're playing games. Just hit him hard.
Oh yeah, I just smashed your rear bumper, totally playing games with him. Video gaming effectively utilizes the infamous finish him phrase from the Mortal Kombat games. Also, the player's car should be entirely deteriorated like Zach's car. Furthermore, if this is your definition of taking out a criminal to be sent to prison, he need to be sent to a psych ward. Not to mention he probably wouldn't be alive by the time the cleanup team gets to him.
There's no room for personal feelings here, officer. Take Hector out now.
Is there any particular reason why I would have personal feelings for Hector other than the fact that he gives really good bro hugs? Hector sends out his own thugs to take the player out, but he can't actually get crashed to death like he did to Zack. Nope, they just stall for Hector to escape so that he can hide somewhere and be found again, leaving me to massacre his own thugs.
Now that we've got Hector in custody, we're expanding this operation to Sunset Hills. I've located the rest of Hector's crew.
But before we go to Sunset Hills, we gotta take out Hector's remaining gang members. You should have just told me this initially rather than expanding to Sunset Hills. You can get heroic points for grinding on people. There is no way that this fucker is alive and or be able to put into prison in a stable condition.
I'm sure that Hector knew you were coming. This operation may have been compromised.
There's no fucking way that this operation could have been compromised. Hector only ambushed the player because we practically left his brother in a bloody coma.
Hey, pretty boy. I've been hearing stories.
Is anyone not going to tell how all these people are grabbing my phone number? Also, this entire cutscene. Bigfooty Motors. This cop decides to tune into the radio during an important operation. Gorilla! Audio cuts off here and then proceeds to be out of sync for the rest of the cutscene.
You know, you can be my pet anytime.
Mystery caller calls me her pet. Were we on a sex hotline delivering dildos or what? Video game identifies the mystery caller as Rose Largo without even giving her the proper introduction. Unnecessary glam cam strikes once again.
One of these cars is of particular importance to the Bureau. It's clear that Hector and his team did not have this car.
Well, that's because you never investigated their shop and commanded me to mutilate them because they're Mexicans? Also, I want to point out here that not a single car we stole for Hector's crew was from the docks in this non-existent plot, or any docks in general. So, remind me why we went after them again?
G-Mac's team...
This motherfucker going after his name G-Mac. That sounds like a rapper trying to make it big on MySpace.
Oh, and by the way, none of my missions have ever failed, and I intend to keep it that way.
We spent a good hour and a half into the story investigating Hector's crew for the car, and the search went fruitless. So, technically speaking, that part of the mission failed. Carmen literally has no purpose here other than to give the fellow players a brief masturbation break.
You were running with his crew, but you're still in the streets.
And you don't find that suspicious because you want my dick? Also, you would think that with Hector and Carmen being close, Hector would have at least warned Carmen about the player massacring his crew. This lineup of cars is the exact same lineup we saw back at the Palm Harbor rally. Also, we're lining up at Palm Harbor and not anywhere near Sunset Hills. This scene transition says it's currently 8 o'clock at night, but this cutscene transitioning into the race looks like it's about at least 5 or 6. Either it's the summer solstice, or we're pretty far away from the equator, and that's unlikely since we're in an area with sandy beaches. This racer's name is Ji-Woo Clan. The Tri-City Tournament is actually a single race. This cutscene literally repeats itself in terms of the events after the Palm Harbor rally. We have the leader of the gang handing out the pink slips and sees nothing suspicious about the player, the self-proclaimed badass that's really a wimp and is already suspicious of the player, and someone with a vagina.
You might have heard of Gregory McDonald, known on the streets as G-Mac.
Well, of course I heard of G-Mac. He just told me about him before the race started. Also, this could be used as a stock photo.
Rose Largo may look loose and stupid.
Loose and stupid? Did you just call her a slut?
Pick anyone you want. Personally, I'd take Nichols.
If you paid any attention to the roster, Nickel was driving a Dodge Charger RT, but I guess G-Mac didn't clarify that for you now, did he? If you observe closely at the cutscene, Nickel walks out of a Dodge Viper, but as I mentioned before, Nickel was actually driving a Charger. So, what do you recommend I pick again?
You need to get your butt back to Palm Harbor and see my ride.
I literally have no reason to come back to Palm Harbor other than to masturbate to you for 5 seconds.
Stay close to me, baby. If you can.
Reused audio file.
Whoa, I don't like the look of these guys.
That's racist. Also, were these cars just sitting here in the middle of the interstate? How long have they been there? And how is there not a traffic jam? Isn't it a good thing that Carmen's getting away? I mean, aren't we trying to help her escape the thugs in the first place?
Who were those guys? They were trying to kill us.
Obvious statement is obvious.
Do you think they went after Hector and Zack the same way? Did they?
This close-up of Carmen is too close-up-y.
Thank you so much for being here with me. I've been so scared since Hector's been gone.
Really? You seem pretty carefree and brain-dead like you usually are before the incident.
Yo, man. A sad driver like you needs all the help he can get. Take that thing up to Sunset Hills and get some work done.
Nicholas giving me advice on being a better driver when he should be following his own advice. This dress makes me cringe harder than my attempted erection for seeing small boobies. Also, bad hair day. Not only that, but you happen to wear uncomfortable dresses while you're lounging. Unnecessary glam cam of a dress worse than all of Lady Gaga's outfits combined.
Hello.
Chase Lynn. How long has it been?
Nothing says unsettling by getting a phone call from a strange and sweaty Asian man.
Now is our opportunity. Let's talk about the object.
Well, to talk about the object, first we need to talk about the vehicle.
Ah, so Chase is in cahoots with the smuggling operation as well. No wonder her methods in arresting street thugs could get her arrested. Nobody in real life talks on the phone like this. Also, is he yelling or rapping? Oh, and those acting performances on WWE are Emmy-worthy compared to this. What the fuck are these security cameras latched onto so they can get an angle like this?
Be careful, he's extremely dangerous.
Nickel Rogers isn't actually dangerous since you described him as a punching bag. This Viper doesn't match the Viper that Nickel emerged from after the Tri-City tournament.
You're not a cop, are you, pretty boy? Prove it. Let's start by having you steal us a cop car. Shouldn't be a problem for you, right?
Yeah, stealing a cop car that I would have instant access to because I'm actually an undercover cop would totally prove the fact that I'm not an undercover cop. Stealing a cop does not put you on the maximum heat level.
I got rid of that fat, sweaty, bacony smell long ago.
You know we have a villain on our hands when he publicly admits to everyone that he hates bacon. Also, why is Rose wearing a one-piece bikini under her public clothes?
Hey,
No, shut the fuck up. This mission is successfully completed even though these thugs are still on your tail.
must have been a tip-off. Get out of there. Lose the line. Don't get caught.
If the police were tipped off at G-Mac's garage, wouldn't he be arrested already?
Hector told me that Zach got caught up in a job that he hadn't sanctioned.
What? Why didn't he tell you they nearly murdered him? Also, why are you still here?
That's my gig.
Shut up, Nickel.
G-Mac is a dick to Nickel. Rose won't stop giving me this rape stare.
Look, the guys you took this from, no sense of humor.
Nobody's going to have a sense of humor when you steal their fucking car.
This belongs to a race car driver you may have heard of. There's a security tracking device inside. We've got only a few minutes before it activates, so move.
And you didn't bother telling me this about the device after I stole the car? Also, what kind of celebrity leaves his McLaren out in the open without any security guards to deal with? Furthermore, what kind of security device goes off after 3 minutes? You think it would go off just as soon as the car was stolen? This cop fails to notice the fucking McLaren driving erratically behind him.
Nice driving, dog. Things are about to heat up, though. Keep on your toes.
This dialogue from Rose that should have come up at the end of the last mission decides to start here and now. Also, what kind of person installs a spoiler on a car that has a self-rising spoiler? Furthermore, this Bugatti spoiler doesn't rise in the game.
You handle your wheels like I handle everything. Smooth. Good work.
G-Mac tells us this after the previous mission ends. This game lets us know that the black sedans are commanded by Chow Wu long before the game even introduces us to him.
3 cars, 48 hours?
Nickel says he could have delivered 3 cars within 48 hours. If I'm not mistaken, G-Mac said 6 cars.
The client wants 6 very specific cars.
And the mission brief specifically states that the 4th car is the final hot car. Did none of these thugs complete first grade math? G-Mac has 6 keychains belonging to other cars in this next cutscene, but we only stole 4 cars. Where did the other 2 come from?
Stay on target or you're gonna get hurt.
I've been hurt plenty of times from getting wrecked by other cars and losing races. What's gonna harm me now? The Care Bear stare? G-Mac offers 6 cars in the crate table thing, but there's only 4 available options here.
You know when the coyote chases the Roadrunner around a canyon?
Rose makes an obvious reference to the Wile E. Coyote and Roadrunner cartoons.
I just love that stuff. You want to be the coyote? 'Cause I'll outrace you, dog.
Yeah, and the coyote also wants to eat the Roadrunner, and I really don't want to eat a pussy belonging to a person that looks like a flat tire. And here's a fun fact, Roadrunners are actually slower than coyotes in real life. In other words, Rose is asking to get her ass handed to her in a race. This mission is considered a job when we're really just going on a joyride. Pointless cutscene is pointless. There's literally no reason for this transition. Also, if you observe closely, the transitions that occur before and after the race don't change time and location, when we're clearly in a different location and the race lasted 2 minutes at the least. What, so you couldn't decelerate after realizing your brakes failed? I'm sure that if you keep your foot off the gas while dealing with the loose handling physics of the game, you'd probably make it out of the race without a scratch.
I'm surprised you're still alive.
Wait, so I'm out of the hospital just like that? The player could have broken a bone or slid an artery in that wreck and could have required serious medical attention.
Isn't it time to put the brakes on this operation?
Haha, Chief of Police makes a pun with the given situation.
Your international smugglers are this Asian crime syndicate, run from abroad by a ruthless crime lord named Chow Wu. He's got a long history of smuggling, extortion, and murder.
In other words, this Chow Wu guy is clearly involved in car smuggling, but we didn't bother to investigate his clan in the first place, and wasted at least 2 hours worth of story and limited gameplay associated with that said story. How the fuck did you hire Chase for this job again?
Very dangerous.
I'm worried. GMAC still has active police connections.
GMAC has active connections? I thought you said he left the department long ago.
I got rid of that fat, sweaty, bacony smell long ago.
This operation has been heavily compromised from the very beginning.
Heavily compromised from the very beginning? Not once has anyone suspected that I am an undercover cop in his non-existent plot.
I want to know why Chow Wu thinks he can interfere with my business in the Tri-City.
Because you can't have a proper market without competition?
We're gonna steal one of his cars and frame him with the cops. Make this happen!
That's not good sportsmanship. How do we get in this shipping crate? Also, who keeps their personal car in a shipping crate? This custom exhaust pipe is bigger than Rose's vagina. These electric poles crash down on the ground like a Jenga tower.
Hey, pretty boy, that was some fine driving. The cops are gonna come down on Chow Wu's head like a ton of bricks. G-Mac's so happy he's got a special job for you. Call me back and I'll fill you in.
Rose says this long after we framed Chow Wu.
Wasn't hard for me to find your phone number.
Wasn't hard for me to find your phone number? Where do I keep my number? Facebook? This guy's acting is so wooden that it's worth 20 offenses on its own. For some reason, Black Box found it completely necessary to have a shot at Chow Wu texting. Nickel doesn't have an engine in his car. Carmen officially has a purpose here, but becomes completely useless after this cutscene.
Now all the races are gone. Hector, Zach, Nickel, even G-Mac.
You forgot about Rose. This glitch. This BMW counts as a pink slip. Giving orders in a foreign language because we can, I guess.
They should find Hector, along with all the others you disposed of.
Find Hector and the others you exposed? I thought we threw them in prison.
It'll be with the surveillance footage, which shows that you were the last to be seen with all of them.
They're in fucking prison! We spent 99 of the game's budget to bring you these corny actionless cutscenes, but we couldn't afford actual bullets. So we went on Google, got an image of a bullet, and blurred the fuck out of it so it looks like it's dropping on the ground.
Could you have imagined it would be that hard to find one car?
That hard to find one car? You never even did a proper search warrant on Hector's warehouse, you cunt shit.
I know you're innocent, but it's gonna take me time to clear your name. Catch Chase and you've got a chance of proving your innocence.
Somehow these cops didn't notice the other car Chase drove off him, so we're automatically going to frame the undercover cop because he doesn't have a vagina. And on the subject of Chow Wu's murder, Chase didn't even turn to Chow's head when firing those two shots. So in other words, Chase fired at literally nothing and we expected to believe anyone was killed.
This isn't over! You have no idea how high this goes!
Haha, Black Box thought they were going to make a sequel.
Friend Carmen filled me in on everything she knew. Zach's mistake.
Zach made what mistake exactly? Call me words that don't exist in the Oxford Dictionary?
Hector's role.
Hector had a role in this?
So this is what Chow Wu was trying to smuggle out of the country. Chase Lynn was willing to kill for.
And he didn't even bother telling us what it is exactly? For all we know, it's just a dated tablet with Windows error messages on steroids.
I know what it's like going deep undercover.
If you knew what it was like to be undercover, why did you resent this undercover operation in the first place? Black Box finds it completely necessary to have this story end with Carmen talking about nothing related to the game. Also, this scene doesn't end with a lap dance for the hero's hard work. To conclude all these offenses the game has to offer, let's talk about the amount of time you spend on this game. Most of Undercover is grinding your wheelman level up by performing races and other events until you get access to missions that progress through the game's plot. So if we had to take all the events that actually matter in this game and remove all the grinding you had to do to get there, this game totals to about 3 hours worth of playtime. You're welcome.